And we're live, folks. Back again. This is the Shoutouts, and we are here to discuss a book with you. But first, flight roll.
Hitman.
I'll go first so we get this up.
Flight roll.
This is Jonathan, call sign, Sunshine.
This is Jeff, call sign, Demon.
Brett, call sign, the director.
Ben, call sign, Hitman.
There we
go.
Andrew, call sign captain, although I am not your flight captain.
That's okay. That's
Flight
your
leader
call.
today will be Demon.
Thank you, sir.
Whatever, spin.
Or you could call me...
Demon face.
Demon Jeff face.
Demon face. Jeff, whatever. All right, guys. If you haven't figured it out already, we are finally here to discuss Skyward. And just in time, because Book 2 is coming out very shortly, and we're going to jump into that. We want to release these episodes while we're reading Book 2. So you can enjoy them, and then you could enjoy Book 2 episodes, Starsight. That's it.
Yes,
Starsight.
I believe so.
So that'll be awesome. So real quick, let's spend a few minutes and just do a quick around the circle on overall thoughts. Starting with Sunshine.
Damn it.
I'll start if you don't want to.
Why is it always me?
Yeah.
Nah, I didn't prepare anything really. But I love the book. It was totally awesome. It's definitely, for Sanderson, it's a bit more young adultish than his other books. But I liked it. It was a change of pace in that regard. Similar to the previous book that I was involved in the podcast, Warbringer. I felt it was very I don't know what I would say, closed world or more condensed,
Cohesive.
Well, yeah, but more like just manageable, like content wise and stuff. And the cool thing about this book is, opposed to all his other books, this is first person for the most part. There's a few parts that aren't first person, but that you're inside somebody's head, actually, which is really neat. So that was a change of pace too, which I thought was really cool.
Cool.
And loved the book. Totally cool. Very fun. Especially the ending. And we'll talk about that later. But I thought the ending was just spectacular. Like it was
spectacular.
Yeah. There were so many parts where you're like, fuck yeah! There was like 5 fuck yeah moments at the end. And I thought it just ended with such a bang.
John, would you say the ending was spin-tastic?
It was, well, I wouldn't because I'm not a dork, but yeah.
But it's spectacular.
Yes, because it's more than just a speck of tacular. Mm-hmm. It's a full spack of tacular.
Okay.
All right. Captain.
I'm lost.
Captain, your thoughts?
Yeah, I liked it. Liked it a lot. It's an awesome transition from going to Sanderson fantasy to Sanderson sci-fi. And I thought he did an awesome job building a sci-fi world. Loved the setting, the environment right from the get-go. Detritus is a really cool place to set your story. And just as a side note, before I started reading this book, I started Mistborn. And because I thought we were going to be doing that one next, and I got
Don't worry, you were right until just recently, because we got news about the next book release. But yeah, don't worry, folks, we will get to Mistborn throughout this year. It's our next. It's
one of our upcoming series. Yeah.
We've got Lightbringer and Mistborn. Sorry to
awesome.
So you'll get all of it. Continue, Captain.
Awesome.
Sorry.
I got about 10 chapters deep into Mistborn. I'm like, man, this story rocks. And then I got confirmation we were doing this other story. And I'm like, oh, crap, I don't get to read Mistborn now. But then immediately when I started reading this story, I'm like, okay, all systems go. This story is great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad. And we will be back to Mistborn. Consider that a little teaser for you, Captain.
Excellent.
Because we will be back to it. You are going to like it, I know for a fact.
I really love this book. I loved how Sanderson did his sci-fi, and I love how Spin starts out in the books. He's so brash and like in your face kind of, and declaring this, you could chop off the heads and of all
Drink
enemies.
the blood of our enemies.
And then the
I will
skulls,
drink
and then
your
chop off all the
blood.
tall heads that you can't reach. And then like she matures and sees how like she was kind of childish and like how she sounded, and like she's becoming like a better person and all that. And then you can tell I like it because I haven't got the shit from
Doom
the
Yeah, Doom Slug!
Can they see it? Check it out.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for the next book in the series.
Coming soon.
All right, director.
I love this. Now, I obviously I love fantasy. One of my favorite movies of all time is a fantasy, Lord of the Rings. Even though it's 3 movies, it's 1 movie in here. And but I have a special place in my heart for sci-fi. I love sci-fi. When I was young, I was just such a tech geek. I would read programming manuals all the time. I was always thinking about sci-fi stuff.
I think I prefer sci-fi a little more.
I love sci-fi. It's like really, really where my heart lies is sci-fi.
Same here.
So when I was reading Stormlight Archive, I was like, oh man, this would be really cool to film, because that's how I think of almost everything that I'm inputting is, can I turn this pie into a movie somehow? And I was like, oh, Stormlight Archive would be really challenging, but be a cool movie. The second that I read this book, by chapter 2, I had decided that I don't just want to turn this into a movie. I don't just want to direct this. I am going to direct this. It's not a question. If the rights get bought, I'm going to be camping outside the studio's fucking front gates until they give me the job. Like, that's just how it's going to go down. So I'm declaring right now, director of this series is me.
You know what you should do? You should totally pull a GOT and literally write the script adaptation and send it to Brandon Sanderson.
I probably will at some point when I feel
dope.
like I'm good enough. So,
dope.
I will probably do that. I'll probably go to like a book signing and be like, "Oh, you want to sign my script, by the way?" Wink, wink.
You know, he's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So if he may actually,
But I absolutely loved this. I absolutely loved this book. I think the only thing I didn't like about it was my own fault. Is that in my head I kept saying lift instead of spin. But we won't get too much into that because we don't want spoilers from other Sanderson books. But yeah, I thought it was fantastic, and I think it's very, very cinematic. The way he describes everything. A lot of books are very cinematic, but this like lends itself to cinematic moments. Like you said, those oh shit moments. They're very like sitting in the theater, popcorn, throw it up moments, and it has a lot of those. I just think, all the things that you could do with the light lances, everything. I loved everything about it.
Awesome.
It's great.
Yeah, I'll finish it up. I think I loved it. It was super cool to read a book from Sanderson with the same prose that Sanderson always has in his books, with the just different ways of thinking about things. Like, especially because we, instead of being third person or like an outside view, we were first person, but still you got the sense that she was judging things wrong occasionally, or judging people wrong occasionally, as she was being judged wrong occasionally herself. So you still got
not
a
so
person.
occasional.
No, we're not. So you did actually get the same Sanderson multi-angle intricacies that he always adds in his books, even though it was like more, I don't want to call it teen, like young adult, but because it was young adult, but it was also still so deep. And oh man, super visual. Definitely enjoyed it. I would totally give it a 10. Awesome, quick read. Super fun. Super pumped for the second one.
And I really liked how for Spin, everything about her is like her own little world. And like everyone else said the own little world, and she's like, oh, obviously I sold the motor, but Jordan's like, oh, it's just some guy who came to fix it. Didn't think it was her.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
All right. So I think
I'd also like to just throw in there that obviously looking at us, we are not young adults. We're not in our teens. I think that this is very much like a recommended read for anybody of any age.
Yeah, no, it's like it's got the young adult feel, but it would translate to any age.
Yeah,
so
right.
If
it's a simple read, but it's also a very good story
Yeah.
that anybody could appreciate.
And I think the reason I say it's got that young adult feel is because it is first person, and it's like it's kind of a coming of age story
for sure.
and that's
and
like
from the
really
perspective of a
typical
kid,
of
Right.
young adult.
It
Me
is
against the
classified as
world,
young adult.
me against the world, coming of age, all that stuff. That's
Right.
like really that kind of
The
what do you call it?
vibe,
trope,
yeah.
that trope. But what done well. It's not like the same old shit. You know, it's
Right.
really good.
Something that I think for those of you who are listeners and also anime fans, not that everyone is, but I got the vibe right when I started reading it. I'm like, man, this feels totally like one of those old badass animes that I used to watch when I was younger. Like, it kind of gave me a vibe of like a fusion between Eureka 7 and
I can see that. Yeah.
Last Exile. Even though those are totally different. I mean, they're not even any. Don't ever watch either of those thinking that you're going to get Skyward. Just the vibe, like the feeling or the vibe.
the way you felt when you were reading
it
or
reminded
listening to
me
it or
of
watching.
that.
Yeah, I
So-
can totally see that. Yeah, it did feel a little bit
So-
like that feeling of
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's dive in. We just wanted
Cool.
to give you guys a review for, and we may even turn that into a clip. Who knows? But that's what we think. So we recommend it. So now let's dive in and discuss it.
Yes.
Sweet.
So Go
Can
for
I
it.
start?
you may.
Yes.
Alrighty.
No.
I suppose.
Go for
Actually,
it. baby.
you definitely can start while Sunshine might skull out and get us 2 more beers.
I am going to get myself 1 more beer, and I suppose if our flight leader commands it of us.
I don't command.
Well, Sunshine
I
is
order.
the cadet, right?
Thank you, Johnny.
Sunshine is the rookie, correct?
All right,
So
go for
those
it,
are his
Andrew.
duties.
Yeah, he is the rookie.
Yeah, right away, I instantly
Anything.
loved the main character of this story, Spencer. She's a scrappy little girl who you get a prologue chapter of her when she's, I think, maybe like 6 or 7 or 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
And she's this, tough, scrappy little girl who has, kind of follows that same theme of I want to fly, I want to, leave a mark on the world. I want to be like my dad who's a pilot. And
Yeah.
I think right away Sanderson has some excellent character building and writing with Spencer. There was a line that I picked up that I loved where you could just see the inner workings of Spencer's mind as a kid, where she tells her, she's complaining to her dad, she's like, when I grow up, I'm not going to get into trouble for fighting because fighting will be my job.
Yeah.
So you could just see the way her little child mind works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was so cool. I thought it was
Yeah.
great writing.
Yeah, I did love that little scene as well. And then she's also like, and everybody will love me, and
Yeah.
nobody will give me any crap.
Right.
It's really funny. Like, I
Right.
just heard you guys laughing, but I have no idea what you were laughing at.
It wasn't you.
Yeah.
No, I know.
No, it
I was
wasn't.
asking, what did you say?
Oh, he's
Ross?
talking about, I'll do a quick summary. Ready? Here's your demon summary.
Go.
Spencer, little kid, little mind, thinking. That's what she says. Go.
Little
Go.
line.
All right. Yeah, I very much like the character. Also, I think the opening scene was really really cool. With the dad again right away off the bat, to me felt very kind of like a teaser to a good television show or movie or something like that before the credits start. you know?
Right.
But,
Yes.
Yeah.
and I love how
hooked
they
you.
introduced it. Yeah.
They hooked you
Yeah.
right away.
Right away.
Yeah.
It was like as soon as you heard that, and they don't even beat around the bush, and then
Right.
my father was the traitor. And it's like,
Yeah.
shit,
Yes.
what happened?
Yeah.
Why did it happen?
Yeah.
Obviously, he's not a traitor.
Coward.
Yeah.
Like a coward,
A coward,
whatever.
yeah.
Sorry. I'm jumping the gun here.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
And it was fantastic,
Yeah.
character or chapter structure, because you got all of that character building, and you get to see the relationship between this girl and her dad. And then I think in the last 2 sentences of that chapter, they're like, boom, and then he went up. That was the battle that saved their race, but he was
Yeah.
branded a traitor forever.
Yeah.
You're like, what? This guy
I
did
know.
not.
Yeah, that
he
was like
seemed
hook,
so
line,
brave.
and sinker right there for me.
I also brought a little bit of previous Sanderson knowledge into it. So it was also extra intriguing because I'm just like, well, this isn't going to play out how we think it's going to.
Yeah.
It's like, this is going to be thrown in our faces later as, haha, you thought it was A, but it's actually not A or B, it's X. He's just gonna be like,
That's what I was gonna say. I'm like, that's what I kept thinking. I'm like, I know it's not that.
Yeah.
But it's also not what I think it is either.
Right,
You know, I'm
right.
like, what is it really? You know.
although I was surprised with how kind of close to what we were made to think it was.
It actually was,
You know, it wasn't necessarily him turning on them, but he ended up actually being the person doing the shooting. You know, I was thinking that like somehow people were fooled or there was a cover up, like she was thinking, but it was a lot more close to the reality than I thought it was going to
Yeah,
be.
because when I read it, and like, they saw the hologram.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe it got replaced.
Right.
And he's like captured up there.
Right.
Or he was dead, and there's like a AI flying the ship.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking, something along those lines.
Which wasn't that far away.
Yeah.
from-
Yeah.
kind of.
I got a question for kind of early on in the book if
Sure.
you're trying to go that way.
Sure.
So in my mind, as I'm reading the book, the first few chapters, I'm trying to decide what direction this book is going to take.
Right.
Whether she's going to be able to be a pilot, or if she's actually going to end up taking another job that she feels that's lowly, but discover something crazy with that job.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Become like an algae, when that guy
Because it was huge. Like
Artemis
yeah,
or whatever
yeah,
his
yeah.
name was.
Rigmarole.
No, the dude, the algae guy.
The algae guy.
Oh yeah,
The sewer guy.
the trash guy.
And part of me is
Or the
thinking, like,
waste
okay,
sewer
is
guy,
is
yeah.
she going to defy all odds and become a pilot, or is she going to have to take like a different route? In my
Interesting.
head, I was thinking about that. Like, and if she took a different route, it's better that she did because it led to something else that
Right, right.
made her discover something
else, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But it didn't go that way. But it was cool because the book really, I felt like it could go either way
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah.
I think there were quite a few points. I think this is something that probably a lot of good writers do, but that I've noticed Sanderson does a lot, where he likes to pepper in little things where it makes you think, I think this is going to happen, but I'm not really confident about it because there's like evidence for this, and
Yeah.
possibly this, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, kind of keeps even the very confident people like guessing, like, like throughout the whole thing, I was like, Spin is I was like, man, maybe Spin's wrong. Maybe
Yeah.
your dad is a coward.
Yeah,
you know,
who
it's like,
knows?
is he gonna throw it that way at us?
For me, the whole time I was reading it, I never thought that, just because like of the way her dad was in the beginning, and how
Well-
he was the one who literally
Well-
said we can't back down here. and
Well,
all
like
that.
I
Right,
said,
right.
there's a difference between it's what I think and I think of it as a possibility.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like
The other-
there's
the other-
evidence in there that shows that could have
Yeah.
been the case.
The other thing is like what I was thinking is, what if he did run, but what if he had good reason to?
Yeah.
That's also
yeah.
what I was
Like,
thinking.
maybe
A point
he
of view
didn't
thing
have
where he
time
was in
to-
the right,
Yeah.
even though he did do what
Yeah,
he did.
I had a for some reason I thought he maybe ran, but like he ran for a reason.
For a
Like,
reason,
he realized
yeah.
that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing.
Right.
something along those lines.
Or he ran because there was something wrong, like who knows, like
Right.
something happened and he didn't have, or he had like communications whacked, and my mind was like, wait, maybe he could run, but maybe there was because then say they shoot him down and they're like, oh, he was a coward,
Yeah.
but they don't really
They would
know
never
what
know.
was in his
Yeah.
mind, like what he was doing.
well, it's
There were moments that really made me think that was a possibility when Spin was first in flight class and Cobb starts like really drilling in this idea of don't listen to this bull crap that they're telling you.
Yeah.
If your plane's going down, eject. So I'm thinking, I wonder if there was a moment out there where he was doing the smart thing,
Right.
they were doing like the stupid honorable thing, and they punished him for it.
makes sense.
Something like that.
Good point.
Yeah. The one thing I always wanted to bring up because, and I know we're going to talk about what really happened a little bit later
Yeah.
on, but so I won't go into that right now. But the thought that it's better to just use the excuse coward in order to make it less bad or whatever, and then like put her through all that. I'm doing lift now. You,
I'm sorry.
You made it contagious. No.
All right, just so you guys know, lift is spin.
I think
Spencer.
you're about
to
to
get,
say exactly how I feel.
to get Spencer like in like they're like, oh, coward, and just like it's better than what really happened, so therefore, and it just like tortured her this whole time.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you were really gonna do that, what you would do is you would just have done exactly what you did and came back and said, oh, he just died in the battle.
Yeah.
He saved us.
Right.
That's
I
it.
could
and
not.
let it
If you're lying
go.
anyway, Why make up a lie that like destroys the pilot's family?
Like the life and the family is such bullshit. Well, not only that, she could become a humongous tool to you. Like if you were what's her name, Admiral
Ironside.
If you were Admiral Ironside and you played that right, you might have like a humongously loyal.
However, we are skipping ahead a little bit. So, can we just go with it?
I mean, go with it.
No, it's the whole book
because they did. So they made that lie, which was bad. But they did try to bring her family in. Like they tried to take care of her family. They didn't want to exile her family.
Yeah.
Her mom chose exile.
But if you're making that the lie, what is her mom gonna do?
Yeah, well,
screw.
I agree.
I mean, but here's the thing, though, is that they even talked about how it's been a long debated thing in society, like many generations, like long before Spin was even alive. It seems like about this defect.
Yes.
So it's in society. So obviously, there's people that are high up that are going to be pushing for one narrative, and I think that this was kind of like the combating two narratives of no, it's not genetic, this cowardice. Yes, it is, and like them wanting to bring that in and them not being able to cover it up completely. That came on this story.
What I don't understand then is if you got these like super influential families, who have the power to cover up their ancestry of the people who were the mutineers that might have this defect. Then why couldn't you do the same thing for a very esteemed pilot?
Because you have other influential families that don't want to cover it up and want to expose this cowardice gene so that they don't keep having things like this happen. You have two powerful points of views combating with each other, and I think that this is where it kind of laid in the middle.
It worked for some people and didn't for others.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird scenario. And the other thing we have to keep in mind is they weren't even a nation until after the Battle of Alta.
Right.
Mm-hmm. After the Battle of Alta, they finally
kind of came together,
into this makeshift new nation.
Right.
And it's immediately going the militarized military government route because they're constantly fighting.
Right.
But like the amount of waste of talent, waste of pilots, the amount of waste that government was doing. And I know they quote unquote had their reasons.
Yeah, but Ironside says terrible reasons. Like, oh, let's just keep throwing kids out there.
Yeah, no, see,
it's way too soon. First day of class,
my God, that made those so stupid.
Desperation.
I think that I really hated that part of the book. That was my least favorite part of the book.
Why?
They literally barely could move up in the air, and she's having them go out there.
Well, but that's what drove the drama in the book. Yeah. I didn't hate that of the book. I definitely didn't agree with Ironside.
Honestly, that's the only part of the book I didn't. I thought that was super unrealistic.
I'm just assuming Ironside's, like, no matter what she says, just has a huge vendetta against her dad, and it just carried through to Spin.
But that's also what I don't.
But that's
what also I don't understand though. Why does she have such a strong vendetta? There's no way you could know someone that well as a person, and if they believe in the defect, why do they believe?
They don't know what the defect is.
But why do they believe the defect is a choice then?
What do you mean a choice?
She doesn't.
It doesn't matter if it's a choice or not. If it ends up.
You're saying she has a vendetta against her father.
Yeah, because she felt so betrayed. Ironside felt so betrayed by Chaser.
That makes sense to me.
It makes sense to me too, because what she's doing is she doesn't even have conscious control over how badly she has this vendetta against Spin and her family. Like, she literally is like, I hate Spin, and she can never fly because of what her father did to us.
So she's an idiot. Because, like,
it's not that she's an idiot.
Think
it's
about
that she's human.
Think about it though. I cannot believe that you know somebody that well, and you know exactly who they are as a person, and truly believe that they had control over what they did in that moment.
I mean,
I don't get that.
How can you see it when you're up in the air and he shoots down your other friends?
Oh, it's after. It's after. Just the thinking. After it happened.
After it happened.
Yeah. Literally, he went up there, he came down, and he did that.
Exactly.
You think that this person that you knew who went up there beforehand and came down beforehand was...
She wasn't looking for reasons of, like, what the fuck happened up there, and she was instead judging him and then wanting...
then she's a poor commander,
But my opinion is that a lot of people are like that out there. They would do that. But I don't think everybody would. I think a lot of people would be like you and be like, I don't believe it, something messed up happened. But the evidence that they had, communication, the face, you know, even
exactly.
God
That's
was like,
what I'm saying.
I saw that face.
Exactly. that's proving my point, though.
Okay, so
it is because
should the wife of Jeffrey Dahmer believe that he didn't do what he did because I've known him forever. He's been my husband. He's been a loving husband. He's so charming.
That's how
this is a different situation
because
we're talking about something that they're talking about, like having a defect. What I'm saying is, why are they blaming the defect on the person?
Oh,
why not blame the defect on the Krell? It's like literally brainwashing something.
Well, they don't know what the
they don't really understand.
I know, but
they just know it's a defect.
But still, then why assume that it's the person's fault?
I think it's a defect. Yeah.
I'm saying I thought that they were trying to make it seem like Ironside and the other people felt like it was the mutineers' fault. It was Chaser's fault. The way they treated them, the way they. And I thought that was weird. To me, that doesn't make logical sense.
Here's the thing, though.
There's a lot of things that humans do
don't
make logical
sense. I know that, but I'm still saying
that's what makes. But that's why I. That's Mbot's theory on why we're the superior race. Remember, because we act counter to logic and counter to our statistical.
I gotta hear that. I feel like she's not that.
Okay, guys. I guess John's just a big believer in Kaepernick.
Yeah, Kaepernick.
Kaepernick.
I'm like, John thinks Colin Kaepernick's coming back.
What? What is that theory? The theory?
That's what I was saying. That's Mbot's theory, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Oh my God.
Mbot's theory for you fantasy football players out there, John picked Kaepernick up because he thinks he might get signed this year. No, I'm just joking.
Wait, what? I'm so confused now.
I have not done
kept it.
That's illogical.
Random hot fantasy football tip.
I did choose Josh Gordon in my last pick of the draft.
So I want to hear a little bit from Hitman and Captain, but. On this particular topic, I think we could ice it, but I do want to say that, like with all said and done, I think every single person who reads it is going to have probably a different feeling.
And it's very emotional.
It's an emotional tie. Yeah. Clearly, they're doing something, making choices that you probably actually most people will not agree with, seeing that we're perspective. But the reality is that it's a human choice, and it's just.
I am fully aware that like the way I feel about it is emotional, and like when I say it's bullshit and doesn't make any sense, is that and other people are gonna feel differently. Yeah. But the difference though for this is that I'm right.
I think the difference is
no wait, we're done.
Sunshine's got the spirit of Spencer within him.
Yeah. The spirit of Spencer. Go ahead, director.
I think there's a difference between agreeing with a logical position but then somehow not understanding why someone could feel that way. I think there's plenty of people that think illogically that I can understand why they think illogically.
Yeah. I'm on your, but I could understand why she is.
I agree with you that it's an illogical feeling, but I'm not saying like it makes no sense she would feel that way. To me, it makes sense why she would feel that way. I can think of a lot of reasons why someone would feel that way. Because I think a lot of people think illogical things for various reasons.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
That's
wait,
fine.
we're good. We're done. We're going off Admiral.
Right.
Admiral Ironside is dead to us. No, I'm just joking. We get to
She's definitely a very flawed person. I agree.
Yeah, super flawed. I definitely also don't agree with some of the other tactics that she was, which is what I want to get into next.
Yeah.
Which
wasting
is
resources.
This. Yeah. Oh my God.
The brain scans.
I don't mind like some of the other stuff that she was doing, but the one thing that drove me nuts is. She's constantly like, we're so taxed. We don't have enough ships. We don't have enough pilots. We don't have enough ships. We don't have enough pilots. But then they have these dumb practices where they'll like oust almost fully trained or even phenomenal fighters.
Yeah.
Because they have to eject. And it's just like, they have this culture of like really everything needs to be do or die, and the amount of waste of life. But the thing that Brandon Sanderson did awesome, in my opinion, is you got to realize that this nation that grew from this war is a military nation. They are a military nation, and they're very flawed in that they keep thinking these kind of like
dogmatic,
Spartan, dogmatic.
I mean, it's a civilization on the brink of extinction for them. So, like, everything's survival. You can't take any risks. That's her philosophy, kind of.
I understand that. Yeah.
It's real. I don't like it because there's some holes because they have backup pilots. And
they won't let them fly, though, because they only want best of the best.
No, because that one person who was going to take Spencer's spot that one time, so they had pilots that could have gone up and to just go up and sit there for Skyward Flight.
Yep.
But they no, Skyward Flight's cool.
But my guess is that there's probably an event at some point that kind of brought around this, and there's probably just not enough data, but they're scared of because of this one thing that happened where somebody that once crashed then went up and then caused a bunch of acclivity rings because they did another thing stupid, and now it's like, well, it's just easier if we bench these people that don't prove themselves perfectly, and there could be reasons, and I'm not saying I agree with that, but it's like... To me, I can see outcomes where it makes logical sense when it's like literally every single battle could be the end of your race.
But here's the thing: I could dig for that.
Or
excuse,
not race, species.
But she kept talking about how desperate they were getting for pilots, and the more time she started to say that, the more I'm like, well, you're doing yourself your own.
I do think though, just even though I
flights.
don't want to defend her.
Yeah, true.
I think that I came to realize that it was actually more about acclivity rings.
Yeah.
Right.
Than it was pilots.
Right.
They reveal that when you get one of those chapters from Judy Ironside's perspective, where she's going through and she's mapping out like, well, we lost this many pilots on this attack, and we lost this many acclivity rings, and then from the salvage we were able to only recover and build this many acclivity rings.
Yep.
Right.
So it's like the math was not adding up, and she's like, the acclivity rings are a lot more valuable than our pilots' lives.
Exactly.
So that's kind of what birthed the whole "don't eject" mantra that these warriors keep doing. Their culture reminds me a lot of the Alethi culture from the other one. Very warlike and like it's honor or nothing. Like there's no in between.
And for me, like just to go back to like a bit earlier in the book when I was reading. I thought it was weird how stupid it was. Stupidly difficult they made the test. They said like, out of all these people taking the test, only a few get in. And then soon after, you hear about how they're strapped for resources. And then you hear soon after that about how in one class even though barely anyone passes the test, even in one class, only a couple people pass in that particular class. So in my head, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, what the hell are they doing? And then you realize it's because...
They have to protect the rings.
Well, no, because they have to protect the rings, and because it doesn't... Because if there were an abundance of acclivity rings, it would be different.
Right.
They wouldn't have those policies.
Right.
Yeah.
Most likely. Yeah. They would just use the resources that they have.
It was...
And even like... I have this kind of towards the end, but even like Cobb said, like, are we going to fight this after she kicks her out? Because they're like... He's like, we're going to need... tons of pilots. We don't have enough pilots because they thought they were going to get this salvage, and that salvage could have led to a lot of new ships. And once they had the ships, well, now, go ahead. You have a broken leg, Cobb. Go ahead, get up in there. Give it a try.
Although I do have to say that there's a flaw to a certain extent in her thought process, and if acclivity rings are the most important thing, why is she so gung-ho on sending out people who are so inexperienced that they have a higher likelihood of losing those acclivity rings.
Therein lies the conundrum. Like, if a pilot dies, chances are their ship is probably, the reason behind that. The destruction of their ship is the reason behind that. So by throwing all your pilots' lives at this war, it's not making sense. You're not preserving any of these precious acclivity rings.
You know what I would have...
But they salvage a lot of them and also make new ones. They don't make new acclivity rings, but they salvage some, and they can't just only rely on their experienced ones, and then all of a sudden they all get wiped out, and now they have no backups, but they do have rings. They need to constantly be playing this balancing act of resources versus
Why
pilots.
don't they accept more pilots then, and just make a lot more backup potentially good pilots?
They basically essentially have a reserve force. Build up this reserve force. I personally think if I was an engineer there, I would build in not just an eject for the pilot, but a mandatory acclivity ring eject. Because the acclivity ring has lift of its own.
Yeah.
It lifts all by itself.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, what you would do is just fucking eject the acclivity ring, and then you could eject your body, and then salvage could come and just pick up all these fucking acclivity rings.
That's a great idea, actually.
Imagining pilots like hanging from the acclivity ring, and they have to come get like scooped up.
I imagine they just don't have the tech for that.
They probably don't. But one thing I was thinking is that would be... That's something I would have like every engineer on. Listen, acclivity rings are the most valuable thing on the planet.
Yeah.
figure out how to safely eject this shit.
Yeah.
That way a pilot could just, bam, I'm shot. They could hit their button. It'll basically shit the acclivity ring out, and then it'll eject.
But don't the Krell go and like shoot up salvage?
They might.
They shoot up
They could come around
salvage
and
so
shoot
that
the
they
ring in the
can't.
air.
Yeah.
All the same, though, if they're going to shoot up salvage anyway, the chances are.
But they're just
ejecting-
making it easier by having the acclivity ring float slowly.
Well, maybe
down
they
to
could
Earth.
come. Maybe they could come up with something.
Yeah.
Like, what if they could eject acclivity ring and a shield generator?
Yeah.
You know, and
Possibly.
They,
I like to believe that they did try everything and it just doesn't work.
I know. Well, or maybe they weren't thinking outside the box yet.
Yeah.
Or
Which is
The,
realistic.
that might be in
actually,
book 2.
the pilots
now that they've got rig.
The pilots could
I was
use
about to say
their light lances to go scoop up those floating acclivity
Yeah.
rings as they're flying by, because they can.
Yeah,
latch
maybe
onto
instead of
things.
they have the fighters, they have the scout team, and then they have literally a live salvage team. Just
Does the
Yeah.
light lance
zipping around, just
so
grabbing
we don't
all these
know if the
acclivity
light
rings?
lance will damage the acclivity ring though.
It might.
I don't think
know.
the light.
This is all
no,
just
because
theoretical.
they use the light lance to capture salvage, so it doesn't do damage on itself.
Really?
I don't know about
We
that.
don't know that.
Yeah, because they would go out and they're like, you're gonna have to go ahead and grab this salvage with your.
Well,
light
Yeah, but aren't they
lasers."
usually destroying
We don't know
when
the
they do that?
structure of the acclivity ring compared to the salvage. It's different.
Yeah.
You don't know. It's all
Yeah,
speculation.
yeah, right.
They're not hitting the ring directly.
All right,
I don't
hold
think.
on. I'm
As-
gonna go
I-
get my acclivity ring, and we're gonna figure this out.
Get me an acclivity ring.
I think we could all agree as readers it was pretty horrifying. Like on their one of their first days of flight, all of
first day.
those rookies, their first day, all of those rookies go and participate nearby an active battle just to
Yeah.
sit
Yeah.
and basically be meat shields.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not in direct danger, but it's like, holy crap, dude! Like these guys are supposed to be becoming your trained warriors. Why are you, immediately throwing rookies right into the gunfire?
And I think my biggest problem with that was, and I think this is more my problem, honestly, it's probably the only problem I have with the book, was 4 hours earlier, they were crashing, just taking off.
Right.
I thought it was,
Yes.
I just thought, you guys can disagree with me, but I thought that was a stretch.
Well,
I'm glad I have permission to disagree because I'm going to.
It was, I did too. You think it's a stretch to like people who are just learning how to fly these Pocos?
The thing is, though, is that I feel like they
have, like, a
explained
little
that they had
joystick.
no other options and that they needed somebody just hovering there because
But they had the backup crews.
they were stuck in the elevator.
no,
they were stuck in the elevator.
No, those are the other guys.
The off-duty
Off-duty.
off-duty
Off-duty,
guys.
yeah.
But they have a crew that are not full pilots.
No, but I think they're also
Let's-
still
let's-
at Ignis. I
Let's
think
put it
they're
this way.
also at
Let's put it
Ignis.
this way.
Sorry.
If that was the case,
Uh-huh.
and they were their last choice,
Right.
then their whole entire strategy or their backup system is fucked.
Yeah.
Because you should never get to that point where you literally have to engage people who have been training for 4 hours.
I mean, I would
come
hope
on,
so,
think about 4
but yeah.
freaking hours.
But
Are
also,
you kidding
I think
me?
this was
they had
I think this
all
was
the
like a
flight
perfect storm
instructors
case
there.
of like the backup
How
and
many
the backup
classes
of
was
the
it?
backup all didn't
How many
work.
classes were
I don't
in
know.
I don't know, not
That's
many.
weird to me.
7?
Something like
It's too
that.
much.
But each one of those classes has a flight instructor they could have set up.
You know,
And
but
in the
there's
line of 7.
who knows? We don't know the other
Experienced pilots.
we don't know the other flight instructors, but they may have issues. Like
They all
I
have
find it
issues,
hard to
yeah.
believe,
Yeah.
regardless of how limited they were on resources, that it was necessary to send 9
Rookies.
people who
10.
have 4 hours of experience
Jeff-
up in
Yeah.
the air.
The
Yeah.
other flights, the instructor goes up with them.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. The other flights they do.
Only,
But
Cobb.
you know
Just
what
not Cobb.
what I think though is I disagree with John for this reason is that they kind of describe how you fly this thing. It reminds me a lot of a video game. And if I played a video game for 4 hours, you bet your ass I'm going to know how to land and take off. That's
But
Not with,
also-
not with
but
that
also in-
important of shit. I don't.
But
I don't
also
think-
in
I
the
don't think
beginning,
so.
Cobb
not plausible.
in the beginning, Cobb explains that like it's not until like kind of towards the middle of the book and towards the end that they ever start altering tactics. They're usually generally very predictable. When this
Yeah.
happens, we do this. When that happens, we do this. And literally, all they needed was a show of force. Like that's the way it's always worked.
I
for them.
understand that.
You know,
And
they literally needed people to go up and be on the same level, And I remember Cobb was just like, yeah, you're a little bit high. Like, they just needed to come down because we need to all be at the same level.
I
and
take
that's
that
it,
in consideration,
Yeah.
but I still think the first day, 4 hours in, is still just not. It just,
But if
I honestly think, in my opinion, I just don't think
doesn't
that
matter
it's,
what you think. If it's what you need, you do it. Okay, this isn't civilian life. This isn't normal
I
shit.
find
This
it hard to
is war.
believe they needed it.
But obviously they did.
That's why it's a problem with the book, then. In my opinion.
I don't think so.
I think it really ratcheted up the tension. It was a great literary device, and it obviously inspires
I
a lot
loved
of
that
passion
scene.
in the reader.
Debates, yeah.
I loved that.
I think
scene.
it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it worked. And the other thing is thankfully in that section they all live, and
Right,
Rigmarole gets glancing shot and gets the hell out of there, which leads to the next.
I think you guys
role
are
that
too
he
Wanted
has.
to do also.
And
too forgiving.
then-
Sometimes it's okay to not like something. It's okay.
We did not say
Yeah, but
that
I
it's
love it.
wrong that you.
I love that
feel
scene.
wrong with
But
John. You're
understand
entitled
it.
to your
I see.
opinion.
I love that scene, and I'm not going to sit here while a civilian comments on military tactics, sir.
Shut up, jerk face.
I think John's just a coward.
Ben, I'm about to punch you in the knee. And
I think
knee you
it's
in
in
the
his
gut.
genetics, and luckily I have little sensors in my headphones that I loaned him, and
John's
we're going to get some data on this.
Get him,
Hey,
Spencer.
I'm okay with
Get him
this because this
Spencer
means
style,
I'm going to be
John.
like the biggest hero of all. I'm totally all right with
John
this.
falls into standard tropes. Just joking.
When John goes to get his next beer, he's going to be like, why are the stairs talking to me?
Do you guys hear music? Like a billion instruments playing at once?
I actually, speaking of that, that's great. I'm glad you were, I thought that was such a cool explanation.
That was an awesome.
That was
awesome
so cool
scene,
of an explanation of someone who's never heard like a symphony.
Music before,
Oh, that's really neat. And in a way, it made me realize like, wow, that it is pretty freaking amazing.
Yeah.
It's cool. That was really.
It was
cool.
really cool how she was like thinking to herself how much practice to get in sync. Like this is what people could do.
Yeah.
Really, really cool
Like,
description.
they
I agree.
because you
Something
realize
so
that
beautiful.
her
Yeah.
society is
With
so
the free time, without the war and what people could do.
well. Also,
Right.
the fact that her society is so young that and since nobody probably had any experience with music at that point, and that her society is so young, they've never gotten to that point where they developed that kind of music.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I mean, they have
Well, I
little
think-
bands, but nothing.
not to that point.
I think
yeah.
art also is kind of, not always, but I think art also sometimes tends to be the privilege of people that don't have to worry about dying tomorrow.
That's
You
the
know?
thing.
There's more
That's-
important
yeah.
things in their
Yeah, yeah,
society
for
to
sure.
worry about.
Well,
probably.
and if you think even about their cash system, it's merits. It's not cash. It's like
Right.
you have to earn merits by doing work
Right.
for society because they just have to.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like coming up from the ground. But so I want to steer this a certain way briefly. So Captain brought up a really good point about this first session. Mm-hmm. Well, then we get to meet Skyward Flight, which is pretty cool because we didn't really know them all yet, but we soon realized that this book's going to be a lot deeper than we thought it is because we start getting casualties left and right. And so when I start going down this path, I want to say, what are your initial thoughts on Skyward Flight, the characters, and maybe even because I think maybe is it like even 2 or 3 battles after this that we lose two people.
Two
of them.
Bim.
Yeah. Morningtide and Bim, who didn't quite, who loved guns and didn't quite take his.
I
Too ego.
is this? Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Or
Go ahead.
you can do whatever you want, baby.
I hope it's not taking a talking point from you, but
I don't-
I've wanted to ask this question since he died.
Uh-huh.
I think we owe it to him, and I gotta get a beer before this.
Before? Then you can't ask the question.
I want you to think about it, because if you haven't,
Okay.
Oh,
I
so
think
we're
you
just
should.
gonna give the audience a moment of silence while we
Audience,
contemplate
you
the
think about
beer.
it too. We owe it to Bim to give him a call sign.
Well, actually, in my opinion, Spin gave it to him.
Oh!
He was probably about to take
Damn
it.
it. All right, you already know it.
Yeah.
All right, you already know my answer then. I'm going to go get my beer. You guys think of it.
Actually, not only that, I think we're right at about a good spot. So what we will do instead... Come back, Johnny!
I was going to say, you have me
So-
That's an order. So
Light Lansom back. Light Lansom back.
Another thing really quickly, though, that kind of goes along with this scene, because I feel like... I mean, she was still relatively gung-ho and like, oh, I'm going to be a great pilot, but like, I think being in an actual like combat situation really kind of shook Spin a bit. And I just thought this was like, really, really cool how Sanderson kind of really, I felt like he really kind of remembers what it's like to be like an angsty adolescent person,
bit,
you know, maybe not quite a girl, but she's also very, you know, she's like,
very
I don't
tomboyish.
know. Yeah, she's very tomboyish. She's like, go get him and stuff like that. And I don't know. I just thought I specifically remember, this reminded me so much. I specifically remember dating a girl that was a little bit younger than me, and I remember talking to her, and she was talking about how she wanted to join like the armed forces. She wanted to be in the Navy, and she's just like, yeah, I think it'd be so cool to be in battle. And I remember me thinking, like, wow, this just shows how old I am, because, like, the only thing I could say to her is, I think you'll feel differently once you're in battle. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like that thing of being young where you just feel like invincible, nothing can kill me. And then when you're in that situation, you're just like, I just want to be the fuck out of here. You know? And I just thought that was so cool how he brought that out.
That's perfect. So we're going to end on that point with, and we're going to start next session. We got to talk BIM. We could talk through this idea of your ideas of this battle and glory when you're young versus maybe more experienced. And then we have lots more of the book to talk about. So with that said, I know we're light on our drinks, but we're refilling. So we're going to cheers.
Cheers.
And
see you in part 2.
See you in part 2.
Where's anyone else going to ask that?
No.
Thanks again for joining us for this episode of Lit Literature. If you liked us, please check out our social media at Lit Literature 1 at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't hesitate to join in on the conversation. We appreciate the conversation, the questions, book recommendations, anything of that sort. Join in right on the social media websites. And don't forget to check us out at our website, litliterature.com, and our upcoming projects, though there aren't many now besides Lit Literature, you can find at likeit.net, Lyket. We do have a Patreon account, but if you truly want to support us, please like and share. Cheers.